Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Military Mondays. If you and I don't know each other, I would love to get to know you. I am retired Major Brenda Sanchez, and I am the co-founder of Life's Real Currency with my husband, Michael Sanchez, and we're also best-selling authors of the book, Life's Real Currency. So you can go grab a copy of our book for free by going to our website, and I will put that below in the chat after we're done with the live. So welcome, everyone. I like to do these Military Mondays. I started these 4 years ago, believe it or not. And I love highlighting military business owners or spouses that are business owners, because I like to get the word out about their business, and I like educating others on what it's like to be in the military and live the military life. So with that, I have an amazing woman on this morning. I met her through networking and through Facebook. So the world's amazing how we can connect to people all around the world right now. And so thank you, Alison, for being on today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your Monday to be with me.
Well, thank you. This is an honor for me, Major. So, and a female Major. Let's go. Let's go.
Thank you. So, Alison, tell me a little bit. You're the spouse of a military member, and as you and I were talking, you actually have kind of served, because I believe spouses serve. You've really served on all sides, all branches of the military. And so let's talk about that, because you have a unique background.
Well, awesome. Well, you know what? My dad was in the Air Force for 25 years.
Woo!
Yeah, and I mean, uncles. My brother was in the Navy. I have cousins in the Air Force, and then my late husband was Army. Served in the first Gulf War. And then my present husband, Shane, is a retired United States Navy veteran, 20 years.
Wow.
And so, so the funny thing is that I went to college so young. So I was 16 when I went, but I still had to take that test, right? My dad was not going to let me not take that test. So I took it, right? What's it called? The AMFAB? ASFAB, I think.
ASFAB. Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, I can't say it this morning.
So long ago, right? So in my junior year of college? Right, but because it was, okay, so he never calls me. He never called me at school, never. So when they knocked on my door, said, hey, your dad's on the phone. So I'm like, Dad, I'm thinking something happened, right? He goes, well, guess who called the house? And I was like, who? He's like, the Air Force called and the Navy called. And I was like, well, how are they doing? And he was like, oh, they want you. I'm like, I lived with you. No, that just wasn't, because, he was very, very strict, obviously. I'm grateful for it. I mean, now, in hindsight, I probably should have gone right after college, but that wasn't, I was headed to Wall Street, so, but yeah, that was my thing. I was like, sir, I'm like already like a sergeant major or something, because I lived with you, sir.
So you were going to Wall Street. Tell me a little bit about that. Let's learn a little bit about your background. Now you're a spouse and you've moved around a lot because your ex and your current husband were in the military. So, right. But you were headed to Wall Street. So give us your background, and then let's talk about what you're doing today and how you're helping everybody, but especially military families.
Awesome. Well, I have a degree in business, and so I graduated college in 1990. So if you remember the first Wall Street movie, that we all got to go to the movie theater to see, I probably saw it 8 times in the movie theater. I was so, but of course, back then, women were not as influential in the financial field, but I was determined. So my first job was in banking, and I started in commercial lending, then went to residential, loved it. But the early 90s brought us the savings and loans disasters. And so I left banking quicker than you could say the word bank. But I stayed in finance. And I stayed in corporate America for 7 years in different, I worked for Volkswagen of America. I had some contract work with like PepsiCo and Pitney Bowes, but I hated corporate America. I say that after 7 long years, I realized I was psychologically unqualified to work for somebody else.
Love that.
That just did not work for me. But I took all the good from it, obviously. You know, it's like when you eat fish, right? You eat the meat and you throw away the bones. So I took the good and I left the rest. And started out then as as an entrepreneur. Wasn't always easy at first. I had to find my footing. I had to find where I served best. You know, there's one thing coming from a family of service, not only military service, but community service. You know, service to our school system. My mom was an educator for 35 years, 30, a long time. And you know, and I mean, just my whole family. So the great thing about is I had to find out where my gift was meant to serve. And, you know, obviously when you're in your 20s, you know, you think you know everything, but you don't. So it took the ebbs and flows of life and the ebb and flow of business to get me to where, excuse me, I just had my protein shake prior to, that was like my little mini breakfast, and I should have had some water. I apologize, but it took, you know, this, I mean, I have no regrets in all the ups and downs of business because, you know, I have 2 children and my daughter was born with sickle cell, and being an entrepreneur afforded me the time to go with her to doctors, hospital, and I never had to ask for time off. And, you know, and I would stay with her in the hospital, and I would see parents leaving to go to work in the morning and then to come home, and that would break my heart. And so there's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, so I'm still in the financial world today, just in a different capacity.
Awesome. And so you've already kind of talked a little bit about it, but what are the skills that you learned as a spouse or the child of a veteran in that you think make you a successful entrepreneur today? Because I love educating the other spouses that are out there. Why consider being an entrepreneur? Why consider having a business of your own? What skills do we bring to the table that others may not?
Well, one, flexibility, being able to be flexible and adapt and pivot when you need to, you know, and the art of listening more than you speak. And, you know, I've always been a note taker. I think, you know, of course, college, you had no choice, but even in church, I write down everything. To this day, for 31 years, I've used a spiral notebook system. I do use technology. So before you all think I'm like a dinosaur, I do use technology, but there's something cathartic about, you know, writing down the list and putting the date on top, and, you know, but so all of those things, and also empathy. You know, I consistently, I bow down in gratefulness to all of you that have served, especially the front lines. I remember that this was back in my 20s, and I'm from New York City. That's the accent that you all hear. I live in the Atlanta, Georgia area now, but I'm really from Brooklyn and the Bronx, so shout out to NYC. But I took a cab, a yellow cab, in the city. And the gentleman was older. He was very, you could say, militant in a certain way. And I saw all of his like military things on like his dashboard. And so I asked him, you know, sir, did you serve? And he said, I did. And he told me what, I think it was Army. But then he gave me a little lesson. He said, and because we served and we fought, "You do not speak German, young lady, in this country." And I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And but we don't really like we hear things about the war. And it was only to my late husband there came a time where he had to kind of share with me kind of the things that he had experienced that, again, it's heart-wrenching. And so so you have to have empathy, and then learn to advocate first for yourself, but also for those that you love. And you understand that the VA system is somewhat broken. And so I had to learn to advocate. So then that helps me in business when I'm listening to people that I am meant to serve and to help and to mentor. But also if I see something, I'm going to advocate for that person or that situation, just like I would for anyone else. Oh, I can't hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's kind of what got you into doing what you're doing today, advocating for people and helping people. It's kind of how you did that. You also are a co-host of a radio show. So helping people is at your core. So let's talk a little bit first about what you do, and then we'll talk about the radio show. But how are you helping military families and just everybody in general today?
Well, I like to say, as a result of what we do, we help people find and fund their passion and purpose.
I love it. Love it.
So we help people to save money, to make money, to multiply their money, or most importantly, to leverage the buying power that they have on things that they already buy. And, you would agree that prior to the pandemic, we were already moving away from brick and mortar to click and order.
Yep.
Amazon. I mean, just like back in the day when, different search engines became a thing, right? But now Google is a place, right?
Yeah.
Google's now a place. Like, so where'd you find that? Google? It's like, where'd you find that? Macy's? Where'd you find, so.
Did you Google that?
Right, or just go to Google. Google it. That is the catchphrase,
Yep.
But we're like, oh, okay. And then we grab our phones or what? We Google it. So just like, when Amazon first came out, we thought crazy, and when if you guys ever get a chance, however you feel about Jeff Bezos, whatever, but just go to YouTube and look at the documentary on Amazon, mind blowing. But the point is that you can really see that e-commerce is taking over, and it's what can help someone who lives in the remote part of wherever you live. And if you have internet and you have some ingenuity and some tenacity, you can make it. Just like YouTube is now a place. It's a place because you can learn everything on YouTube. So we kind of, during the pandemic, I think if two things that 2020 taught us is that, one, our health is our greatest wealth. And two, multiple streams of income are no longer an option.
Exactly.
Right. You've got to learn how to pivot.
Yep.
And so we were initially more focused in our financial business, which we still definitely have and take part of, and but e-commerce came calling, and when I least expected it. And but you know what, I always say, God brings you the desire of your heart. And so in my mind, I was already getting myself like, okay, look at what this pandemic is showing me. My health is my greatest wealth. I have to just get myself together. And I was starting to, start to say, okay, this is what I like to do. And poof, it showed up into my world.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. 2020 was a year of learning for many people. And if they were able to pivot like you did, You had a successful business already, but those that learned to pivot last year are really doing well, like exploded their business. I know our business exploded last year because of exactly what you're talking about, e-commerce and needing to, the other thing our business exploded is because of the human connection, because people weren't seeing each other in person. What we do helps you to build that human connection without being in front of them, which is what I absolutely love. So I also want to talk about your radio show, because when we first talked, I didn't even, other than to see it on Facebook, I didn't know you co-hosted a radio show. So tell us a little bit about the radio show. I know with COVID, we were talking prior, that kind of put things on hold a little bit.
Studio.
Took you out of the
because
studio.
of we're in the studio is beautiful, but the building has rules, and so we couldn't have more than 2 people in the actual studio. So since it's I'm co-host, because Shane and I hosted together, plus the producer, we couldn't do it. And then getting everyone situated at home because for some reason, I think the huge system in the studio didn't sync well with Zoom, so I had to use something else. So anyway, but we started in 2016, and I've known the owner of the station for, wow, I think now going on 12 years. And I knew when he was going to start the station, and I just thought, was like, go for it, never thinking that I would be on the station. I would just want to support him. You would just want to support your friends. And he kept on asking me, and I was like, no. And I went through a pretty dark time in my life when my late husband passed away suddenly. And after years of, of course, being a caregiver with such honor, but when you're a caregiver, you take less care of yourself, obviously. So 2016, or in the late 2015, I decided, okay, 2016, I'm going to just start taking care of myself. And I have a very good friend, her name is Gold, and she's all into 5Ks. And I see her with her pictures on Facebook, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. And unbeknownst, I then met Shane, and I told him when we first started dating, I was like, I'm happy to hang out, but I'm all about Alison. And he was like, sure, okay, no problem. And so he said, well, I'll do the 5Ks with you. And he is a runner. Like, he used to run with his dogs. And I was like, okay, I'm not there yet. I'll be walking the 5K. I'll be walking. But he was so supportive. And in 2016, we did, I think, 15 5Ks, 14 to 15 5Ks. And so that's when we started, when Courtney, the owner of the station, kept on asking me. And I was like, you know what, let's do this. I said, but I won't do it alone. So I just told Shane, hey, guess what? We're going to have a show together. He was like, oh, okay. And I used to do radio in college. And so, and then in my, with my late husband, for our other businesses over the years, I've always been very comfortable, because Marcus used to put the camera right in my face. So it was just a natural, it was time. It was just timing. And so it's winning, dreaming, and believing in every area of your life with AliShane.
Awesome.
So,
I love it. You were going to say something.
Well, like and how we help people, we do have a segment called Dear AliShane. And so people do send in letters. And I get to see the letter prior to the show. So I get to read it, and then I come up with how I'm going to help. But Shane and our guest, they hear it live on the air. So it's always kind of fun, because you never know what this letter is going to be.
Yeah.
You never know what this letter. And so, it's fun to see how Shane and the guest, they have to compose themselves. They're like, what? But it's, that's just, and we are nowhere licensed therapists. We're not attorneys. I put that out there. I mean, I could play one on TV if you need me to, but we do just give from our life experience.
Awesome. So we could talk for a long time, and maybe I'll have you on another show in the future. But what I'd like to do to wrap it up, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to share with the viewers today?
Well, one I would tell you, please, 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 when you see a veteran, especially if they have on a hat or something, please take a moment of your day to thank them for their service. It means so
Absolutely.
much. It
Mhm.
means so much. Two, life is short, and it's important to lead and live authentically you. And it's okay to learn this sometimes this word may be rare in people's vocabulary. That word is no. No, I cannot do that. No, I will not do that. And learn to live who you were meant to be. And that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I have loved that I've been able to merge my financial life now in wellness. And I'm having the time of my life, and if you would ask me even 4 years ago, did I see myself doing this now? No. But this was the time, but it was also the time for Alison to really, just let go all those layers. And this next, I'll be 52 this year. So this next, because I plan on being a happy and healthy centurion, by the way, Brenda. So,
Yeah.
so this next 48-year run, I have a lot of people to serve. There's a lot of impact to be made, and dreams to fulfill.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I like to end that way, because you talked about serving, and there's a lot more to serve. So if you've served in the military, whether that be as a spouse, as a child, or a veteran yourself, or you're currently serving, there is plenty of businesses out there to be an entrepreneur and own your own business and to continue serving, because that's what my husband and I like to say. My husband, for those of you who know, is law enforcement, over 40, I think now over 44 years of law enforcement. So he comes from a service industry, and so do I. And we went from serving our local or federal government to serving local businesses, or they don't have to be local businesses, but serving businesses. So you can continue to serve in the community or in a role as an entrepreneur. And so
Yeah.
if you are watching this and you are a veteran or a spouse and you have a business, I would love to have a conversation with you and maybe feature you on a Military Mondays. So reach out to me, go to militarymondays.info. So that's militarymondays.info. You can see past shows, which you'll be able to see if you're watching this as a replay. You'll be able to watch Alison's interview, and you'll be able to go watch other interviews that I've done. And you can also apply there to maybe have your own interview on Military Mondays. So thank you so much for being on today, Alison.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
If you'd like to connect with Alison, she's going to put her contact information in the chat below, and I'm going to go back and tag her because Zoom doesn't let you tag anymore. So shortly here, I will tag Alison in the video and then reach out to her. And I'm so grateful for having you on today. Thank you for taking time out.
Always, always. You know what, whether we are family by blood or not, when we are in the military family, that bonds us forever.
Yep, it does. If you're hearing a little one in the background, it's my grandbaby. So that's why I love doing what I do, and Alison loves doing what she does, because it gives us time to spend with our family, and we don't have to ask to take time off. So I absolutely love it. And so thank you everyone for being here today on Military Mondays. Please do us a favor and like and share this video so that we can get the information out about Alison and how she helps military and other families to stay healthy, both in their health and their wealth. So thanks again for being on, and I look forward to seeing everybody next Monday on Military Mondays. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Brenda.